The CNIB National Youth Council presents Let's Talk Money. Part 2, Registered Disability Savings Plan, RDSP.
Okay, no problem. Thank you so much, Alice. Thank you so much, Danica, for inviting me to come speak to everyone tonight. Basically, I'll introduce myself first. My name is Robert Wong. I am a regional vice president here at Primerica Financial Services. I was introduced to this company 16 years ago. I can't keep track anymore. But basically, I was introduced to this company as a client 3 years prior. And so basically what happened was they sat down with me, showed me exactly what I need to do with my finances, because no one is sitting down with anyone and showing them what they need to do with their money. There are some financial concepts that I didn't know and most people didn't know. And so when someone from this company sat down with us, my wife and I, showed us what we needed to do with our finances, we were blown away with the things that we were taught. And so we became clients right away. And then 3 years later, we looked at this company and said, hey, they're looking for some part-time people. So we looked at this company and said, hey, if I can make some additional part-time income, I'll go ahead and do that. And I've been here ever since, which is great. How I was introduced to Danica was, I guess, a year ago, maybe. I was actually speaking at another event through the CNIB, because I volunteer at the CNIB, and I help out, I guess there's the Brampton chapter over there. And so Nat Miller was the one who kind of introduced the two of us. And I was introduced to Danica, and then Danica sort of invited me to join you tonight. So that's kind of how that story goes. So tonight the focus is basically, and absolutely what Danica was saying is true. We can have an open discussion and we can ask questions along the way. The focus is a few things. Basically, the first part I'm going to talk about is the RDSPs. So some of you may know about the RDSPs, some of you may not know about the RDSPs. I'm going to make the assumption that some of you don't know about the RDSPs, and if you do, then it's a nice reminder as to what the numbers are. So we'll talk about that. I'm going to talk a little bit about RRSPs and TFSAs and why you'd use one or the other, and so how you can use that to save your money. And the last thing I'm going to show a couple of videos, which are, and I understand I understand that the audience here, some may be able to see the video, some may be able to not see the videos, but the videos, there's music to it and things like that. And it actually does describe things quite well, but just the importance of saving and using the rule of 72 and using compound interest to help grow your money. So that's kind of the agenda for tonight. But absolutely, if you have any questions along the way, then let me know for sure. Okay, so let me get into my presentation here and let me show you this. Primerica is actually, we are, what we do when it comes to people's finances is we help people out with different things. We help people out with insurance in case something happens to someone, they want to leave behind some money for their loved ones, then we do help them out with their insurance. We also help them out with their debt. Some people are, paying off their credit card debt, paying off their mortgage, and they want to know how to do that faster. So we do help them with that. And then the third thing, the major thing that we do is we help people with their savings. So we do help people with their RSPs, TFSAs, and specifically, and we're going to talk about this tonight, we do help people save inside a plan called a Registered Disability Savings Plan. So let me, before I go into the details of this, kind of just describe this as in general. And for the most part, I'm just going to read this brochure. Primerica has actually partnered with a company called McKinsey Investments when it comes to RDSPs, which is great. And McKinsey is one of the larger mutual fund companies in Canada, and so they help us with that. So what is a registered disability savings plan? Okay, well, basically, we're talking about building financial security for Canadians with disabilities. Many families worry about how a loved one with a disability will be cared for in future years. Thanks to the Registered Disability Savings Plan, or RDSP for short, and generous federal grants and bonds, now it is easier for people with disabilities to save for their long-term financial security. Read on to find out how the Canadian government can help you save, adding up to $4,500 each year to the amount you contribute. Now that's amazing. Now we sit down with clients all the time and we talk about, hey, you know what? If you're going to open up an RESP, if you have kids, you put $1 in, the government puts in 20 cents. I mean, that's great, but I mean, you're talking about here in an RDSP, you put $1 in, the government puts in $3. And so that's quite an amazing plan. And so we'll read on to find out more about this. But I mean, every dollar you put in, the government puts in $3. That's amazing. The sooner you start saving, the earlier you can start building long-term financial security. So let's go into this here. So 6 reasons why RDSPs are the best way to save. Reason number 1, anyone can contribute to an RDSP with the written consent of the account holder. Usually it's the account holder themselves who open up an RDSP for themselves, but sometimes not. Sometimes somebody who is under 18 is the one who qualifies for the RDSP, but then the parent is the one who opens up for the child. And so that's common and that's fine. And then if you're over 18, then you qualify yourself, so that's fine too. The total lifetime contribution for each beneficiary is $200,000 with no annual contribution limits. And so you can put as much money that you want to in an RDSP, and that's fine. And so there are certain limitations in terms of how much the grant money can be maxed out in any given year. And so we'll talk about that. So sometimes it's not always, oh, well, I have $50,000 sitting on the side. Let me dump all of it into the RDSP at once. Sometimes you do have to, plan for it and put some of it in first year, some of it in the second year, some of it in the third year, and so on, and catch up with that. But we'll talk about that. So number 3, contributions can be matched based on family net income with up to $3,500 a year in Canada Disability Savings Grants and up to $1,000 a year in Canada Disability Savings Bonds. Okay, so free money from the government is always great.
More audio, video button, open the participants list pane, share screen button, open the chat pane button. Yep. More meeting intro, share, open the.
Oh, okay. So, and then, okay. So number 4, the more you contribute, the money you contribute grows tax-free. So that's a great thing. So you put the money in, it grows tax-free. Number 5, savings and withdrawals do not affect federal and provincial income tested benefits. So there are some benefits that you get from the government that all depends on your income. Well, any kind of withdrawal that you make out of these savings, the RDSP, does not affect that. Number 6, carry forward on the CDSG and the CDSB, so the grant and the bond, is available back 10 years or to date of diagnosis. Since RDSP was launched in 2008, carry forward can go back to then. Maximum grant someone can receive in any 1 year is $10,500, and the maximum bond is $11,000. Okay, so we'll go into detail with some of these things, but we'll stop along the way if you need to explain some things. Who qualifies for an RDSP? To qualify for an RDSP, to qualify to be an RDSP beneficiary, if you are a recipient of a disability tax credit, a resident of Canada less than age 60, and have a valid social insurance number. So that's important. You do have to qualify for the disability tax credit. And so if you don't, then you don't qualify for an RDSP. And hopefully those of you guys who do qualify for it, you've already applied for it. I have a sample a little bit later to show you what the form looks like. Very, very simple. You fill out the first page, you give it to your doctor, the doctor fills out the rest, and then basically you send it to the government, and the government says, yep, you qualify. You are, you do have a disability that qualifies for this. And so you just have to do that. How do you open up an RDSP account? If you haven't already, apply for the disability tax credit. If you don't have the form, you can go onto the website. There's a website there, www.cra-arc.gc.ca/disability. That is where you can get the disability tax credit application. And once you get approved from the government, then basically see your financial advisor to open up an RDSP. And I guess that's where someone like myself would step in and sort of help out the client and open up an RDSP on their behalf. Okay, so take advantage of government help. Okay, so here they talk about the differences between the Canada Disability Savings Grant and the Canada Disability Savings Bond. So here is about the Canada Disability Savings Grant. Through the CDSG, the grant, the government deposits money into your RDSP to help you save, providing matching grants of 300%, 200%, or 100%, depending on the amount contributed and the beneficiary's family net income. Okay, the maximum is $3,500 each year with a lifetime limit of $70,000. And again, family net income, if you're below 18, is your parents. Mom and dad family net income. When you're over 18, then family net income is yourself. And so that can change things. If you open up an account before you're 18, and then after you're 18, and you're now, you still have your disability, obviously, and then you qualify for different numbers, which is great. Canada Disability Savings Bond. This is the part where the government gives you free money, right, through the CDS. Well, the grant money is free money, but that's free money based on matching. So you have to put money in to get the government to match it. That's what the grant is. The bond is just, all you have to do is open up the account, and the government will put money into your account based on how long you've been disabled for and based on your income. And that's a good thing to know. Some people say, okay, well, I don't have any money to put in, but I do qualify for the disability tax credit. Can I just open up an account and have money be deposited in there? Yes, you can. They just want you to open it up, and basically they'll put money in. Through the Canada Disability Savings Bond, the government deposits money into the RDSPs of low income and modest income Canadians. If you qualify for the bond, you could receive up to $1,000 a year with a lifetime limit of $20,000. Now, again, to a maximum of $11,000. So I've had clients who've been, have had their disability for more than 10 years. And what the government will do is, okay, so if they qualify for the $1,000, then they get the $1,000 for the current year. And then for the last 10 years, they get $1,000. So for a maximum of $11,000. So all depending on when your disability started, up to the last 10 years or the most recent, I mean, whenever, if you became disabled 3-4 years, like say 4 years ago, for example, you would qualify for the 4 years past and then the current year, this current year here. So everyone's situation is different, but there are some general trends there. So these are some details about withdrawing your money. RDSP withdrawals must begin by the end of the year you turn age 60. You may withdraw funds earlier, but be sure to note that once a withdrawal of any amount is made, $3 worth of federal grants and bonds paid into the RDSP in the previous 10 years have to be repaid for every $1 withdrawn. So just to let you know, so the money that you're putting into an RDSP, you put money in and the government matches money to put the grants and the bonds. The money is there for when you retire, generally speaking. It's for when you turn 59, 60 years old. That's kind of when the plan is for you to start taking your money out. The reason why is because by the age you turn 49, you can't put any more money into the RDSP. Well, you can, it's just that they're not going to match any money for you anymore. And so by December 31st of the year you turn 49, they stop matching your contribution. They stop putting bonds in there for you. And so you wait 10 years to age you're 60, then you start taking money out, and then basically you're going to be all the money that's in the account is yours. If you do start taking the money out earlier, then they say, okay, what did you put in for the last 10 years? Did the government give you any money in the last 10 years? Oh, they have. Okay, so now it's every one withdrawal of $3 they have to take back, because the idea is they're giving you the money, but the money's there for later on. They want you to have some money later on, so you can kind of take care of your own retirement, your own old age, so that they're not taking care of it so much. So they're encouraging you to open this up. They're encouraging you to save, so you have a lot of money later on. So the government is not the one, helping all the seniors out and helping them, for their retirement. They're trying to encourage people to save, and they can, you'll have a lot of money there. Withdrawals will consist of non-taxable contributions. Okay, so anything that you put in, your contributions are not taxable, right? And then also taxable government monies and taxable growth. So whenever you're putting $1 in, the government puts in $3. So the growth that grows on the money that the government gives you is taxable, and the growth is taxable, and the government money is taxable. So the $3 is taxable, and also the growth of that is taxable as well. But the dollar that you put in is not taxable. Okay, how your money can grow. Here's an example. Jack, whose family net income is less than $26,364 a year, opens an RDSP at age 19 and contributes $1,500 a year until he is age 49. Okay, investing the money in a balanced mutual fund that returns 5.5% annually, even though his annual contributions only total $46,500, which is, okay, he's putting $1,500 every single year for 31 years, right? You can start at he can start earlier than 18, but say he's an adult now, he starts at age 19. He could have started at 18. Let's say he starts at age 19 and he goes all the way to age 49. So for 31 years, he's putting in $1,500. He's putting in $46,500. when those contributions are combined with the Canada Disability Savings Grants and the Canada Disability Savings Bonds, by age 50, Jack will have accumulated $398,891. Not bad, right? He put in $46,500, but he has almost $400,000 in his account, and that he can use for his retirement. And he can use that for anything he wants to, really. But that's $400,000 to his name, and all because somebody sat down with him when he was 19 years old and talked to him about the importance of, number one, opening up an RDSP, number two, saving into a mutual fund, right? Number three, consistently putting money in every single year to take advantage of all the free money that the government's going to give you, which is a great thing. So $400,000 in his account, all because he said, you know what, I'm young, I'm going to open up this account, I'm going to, take advantage of all of this program and really have a lot of money in my account. On the screen right now is a graph. I'll describe that for you, but basically it's a graphical representation of the numbers that I just gave you. So, it's on the left-hand side, there's a bar graph, and it talks about, your contribution, a little bit under 50,000. Then all of a sudden you have the Canada Disability Savings Bond that gets added there. And then you have the CDSG, the Canada Disability Savings Grant, that gets added as well. And then the total plan is a big blue graph on the right-hand side. And that's basically, it's about, about 8, 9, 10 times bigger than your contribution. So, something like that, right? You put in a little less than 50,000, now you have 400,000, so a little bit less than 10 times about that. So it's a lot of money compared to what you put in, compared to what you get. It's a lot of money. So just to summarize, your annual contribution of $1,500 per year equals, $46,500 over a span of 31 years, right? The Canada Disability Savings Bond of $1,000 a year to a maximum lifetime of $20,000, so that gets added to the account. And then the Canada Disability Savings Grant of $3,500 a year to a maximum lifetime amount of $70,000. So there is a maximum amount of money that the government will give you. So looking at a 5.5% rate of return over 31 years, you're looking at $400,000. So that's pretty good. And there are lots of mutual funds out there that do 5.5%. So that's not too hard to get there, especially when you're young too. So it's out there for sure to get. Here, top 4 tips to maximize savings. Tip number 1, start saving early, right? Make it automatic by enrolling in a pre-authorized checking program. I don't know if you guys have ever heard the term, set it and forget it, right? So it's the idea is when you open up a savings plan, and especially in an RDSP, but all other plans too, RSPs, TFSAs, RESPs, all sorts of plans. When you do open up an account, you start something on a regular basis. I mean, and you can do $1,500 a year, for example, but you can also do $125 a month. And it doesn't have to be $125 a month. That's an example if you want to maximize on it. But I mean, when you think about it, oh my gosh, to really get this, maximize this plan, if I start at 19 years old and I put $125 aside, oh my gosh, and I have a disability, hey, look at that, $400,000 in my account. And that's only if it does a 5.5% rate of return. It can do a 6, 7, 8, 9% rate of return, right? So number 1, start saving early, make it automatic. Number 2, contribute every year to get the maximum annual Canada Disability Savings Grant and Canada Disability Savings Bond, if applicable. So if you do qualify for these grants and bonds, definitely apply every year, because remember, it only goes back 10 years. And so you could be in a situation where, hey, I've had my disability for 11, 12, 13 years. Well, and I'm applying for an RDSP now. Well, we can only go back 10 years. Well, not we, the government. The government only gives you money back for the last 10 years. And so you should think about that when you're saying, okay, wait, I should start applying. Number 3, plan your withdrawals to avoid federal grant and bond repayments, right? So just remember, when you put money in, it's kind of, you think, okay, it's one way, I'm going to put my money in, let it grow, and I'm not going to touch my money until, and if I do the plan as the schedule says, you stop putting money at 49, and then at age 60, then you start taking money out. So that's kind of the idea. I mean, the other options to that is you keep on putting money until 29, and then at age 40, then you start taking money out. But that, I mean, it's for your retirement anyway. So the idea is when you stop contributing money, wait at least 10 years to start taking the money out. That's the idea. And then tip number 4, carry forward of Canada Disability Savings Grant and Canada Disability Savings Bond money. So they do backfill all of the last 10 years that you haven't done. So if you start opening up an account now, but you say, okay, well, hang on a second, I've had my disability for X number of years, they go back up to a maximum of 10 years or whenever your disability started. So you do want to take advantage of that. And then I guess the last part, to open up an RDSP, talk to your financial advisor. And so you can always talk to me if you want to. If you have another one, that's fine too. So let me share something else, and then I'll open it up to questions, because maybe this will help answer some things here. So hopefully I didn't go too fast or too slow on that last part. Here's an example here of how, I'll just go through 2 examples here of the Canada Disability Savings Grant, and then I'll go into the Canada Disability Savings Bond. So here's an example where, and I apologize that they didn't update the brochure for last year. So these are 2019 income numbers, but basically it's roughly the same, probably a little bit higher obviously, but so if your family net income, okay, so again, family net income is your parents if you're under 18, but if you are over 18, it's your income. If your family net income is up to or equal to $95,259, which is most people, right? Then you will get a 300% matching on the first $500 that you put into the RDSP. So you open up an RDSP, you put $500 in there, the first $500, you will get a 300% matching. And 300% matching on $500 is basically $1,500. So you put in 500, the government will put in 1,500 of their money, which is great. You put in and they match it, okay? And then what happens is the next $1,000, they will match 200%. So you put in, on top of the 500 you initially put in, you put another 1,000 for a maximum of 1,500. That next $1,000 will be matched 200%. So basically you're looking at now $2,000 that they add on top of that, right? So now you're looking at the 1,500 you got for matching for the 500, and you're looking at the 2,000 that they put in because they matched your 1,000, and now you're looking at a maximum grant of 3,500. You see where that comes from? So when they say there's a maximum amount of 3,500 that they give you for the year on grants, that's because of the 300% and the 200%, and that's where you get your 3,500. If your family net income is over 95,000, you will get a 100% matching on the first 1,000. I mean, because they figured, okay, yes, you're disabled, and yes, you qualify for this, but if you're making over $95,000 a year anyway, then you know what, we're not going to match you 300% on the first 500. We'll just match you 100% on the first 1,000. So you put $1,000 in, they'll give you $1,000, and for a maximum of $1,000 if you're in that family net income. Okay, and so there's that example there. Just to let you know too, and this is exciting too, because and a specific point on here, when they match you on the 300% on the first $500, if you do qualify for an RDSP and you haven't opened one up, then basically, if say for example, the last 5 years you got your disability 5 years ago, basically they will, and you haven't, you do qualify for all this matching, they will fill up all the 300% room, right, for the last 5 years before they go into the 200% room, which is great. So you have $500 for this year, $500 for last year, the year before, the year before, the year before. Before you get into the 200% area, they allow you to match the first $500 per year, which is great. So a little bit of math involved there, but once you get the hang of it, you can kind of calculate, you can kind of predict how much money the government will put in for you when you do that. Okay, so that's the grant. And this one here is the bond, and then we'll stop for some questions before I move on. But this one here is the bond. The bond is again, we talked about before, is free money from the government if you qualify for the disability tax credit and the RDSP. So basically, if you have a family net income of up to or equal to $31,120, then basically they're going to give you the maximum annual bond money. So if that's what your family net income is, you're going to get the $1,000. Okay, so that's great. Okay, if your family net income is between $31,120 and $47,630, you're going to get a prorated number between 1,000 and 0. Right. So basically, if you make a little bit over 31,000, now all of a sudden, then your $1,000 can be reduced a little bit. Maybe you get 990. Maybe you know what I mean. But if all of a sudden you're making, if you make just a little bit less than 47,630, you know, I'm not sure what the lowest number is. Maybe they'll give you, I don't know, $25 or something. I'm not sure what the lowest number is. Maybe there's probably a minimum number. But generally speaking, there's a prorated number between $1,000 and zero. And then if you make over $47,630, then no bond is paid at all. Okay, so keep that in mind. Where, oh, hey, how come I'm getting a bond and my friend is not getting bond? And it's because it all depends on income. And so the government looks at that and whether or not they give that money to you. Does that make sense? Are there any questions on? I know I went through a lot. Now I'm hoping that I went at a decent pace and I kind of described things where I needed to. But Danica, Alice, is there anything that you wanted me to highlight or go over, or is there something that you think maybe some people want to know?
I mean, the floor is open if anyone has any questions. I know there's nothing in the chat right now.
I do have a question.
Yes.
In the scenario that you're after 49 and you maximize the tax-free saving and the register, I don't remember.
The RSP?
Yeah. So you maximize that.
Yes.
Is there a benefit to continue to contribute if you are under $200,000 in your RDSP, or there is no benefit to continue to put the money in this the RDSP?
Sure, it's a good. Are you talking about someone who is over 49?
Yes.
Right. Okay. Yes. So, right. The benefit here, it's a good question. The benefit here is to save into the account before you're 49. But you're right. The government allows you to put money in after 49, but they're not going to match any money that you put in. So you're asking, okay, should I put my money into an RSP, TFSA, or RDSP? After 49, if you haven't maximized your RSPs and your TFSA yet, go ahead and put it into there. The reason why is because an RSP, you get to reduce your taxable income. So that's a good thing. TFSA, okay, go ahead.
But it's in the case that you already maximize those two things, the TFA and the...
Sure. And the RSP?
Yes, RSP.
Yes. Actually, if you've already maximized the RSP and you've maximized the TFSA, then yes, there is a benefit to put the money into an RDSP. You're not going to get the benefit of the matching after 49, but you are going to get the benefit of your contributions are not taxable. Right?
So it's like a RSP then?
It's not like an RSP in the sense that, because an RSP gets taxed, the whole thing when you take the money out is 100% tax as income in an RSP. Right? Okay. But in an RDSP, it kind of works like a TFSA where you put your money in. It's not really like a TFSA. When you put money into an RDSP, your contributions are not taxable. Right? But the growth of it, but the growth is and the matching is. In a TFSA, everything you put in is not taxable, and anything that it grows is not taxable.
Okay.
So if you're in a situation where you've maximized the RSP and you've maximized the TFSA, then go ahead and put in the RDSP, because you put money in, you put another $10,000 into the RDSP. That $10,000 that you put in is not taxable.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
You're very welcome. No problem. Good question.
I have a question.
Yes.
It's Hannah speaking. So
Hi.
if either I have a disability, so I'm blind, and how would I know if I don't have RDSP? Or if my parents have applied for me and they don't know that they have it for us?
Oh, that's something, and I apologize. I should have had the number here handy. But you can call, anyone can call the government. I forget the department, EDSC or something like that. I forget what the department's called. But basically, the government, there's a number there that they handle all questions on RDSPs, and they can tell you over the phone if you qualify, if you don't qualify, do they have the disability tax credit on file? And they basically say, okay, you're so-and-so, okay, they ask you questions like what's your SIN number and all that kind of stuff. It's the government.
Okay, do you have the number for them, or can you email the number?
I don't,
Robert,
but I can
if you
find.
if you want to send the number, we can forward it.
Does somebody have the number?
Yes, I do. I can put it in the chat. There is two number because it depends on the type of question you want to ask. But I'll put the both number.
Either way, you guys can email the number. And I have a question. Sorry to cut whoever was speaking off.
That's okay. That's okay.
So
they're very helpful, by the way. Yeah.
Yes. So if your parents are doing your taxes, and is that part of knowing you are having that tax return coming back as a disability, or how would you know?
You know, it's a good question. So what happens is on the RDSP, whenever you open up an RDSP, there's I forget what section it is, but on the application form where you're applying for the grants and bond is basically there's a part in there where it says whose income are we going to use to test the income? Are we using the parent's income or are we using the child's income? Because I don't believe it's exactly 18. It all depends on the situation. So you could say, okay, well, you know, I'm over 18, but my parents are still filing for me, so use theirs, right? Or you know what I mean? So there is a part of the application you have to specify.
How would you set up? Do you have to go through an agency to set up an account, or
you would contact a financial advisor for sure? Like, I mean, selfishly, I will say that I can do that for you as well. Like, I mean, if you need to contact Danica and and ask her how to contact me, I can do that, and we can do that remotely as well. Actually, that's how.
Because we want to do that, and I want to we need to do that because we keep getting letters in the mail saying you have a disability, you can write your taxes off, but my parents don't really, I think, don't understand or don't know how to do it.
Can I say one thing? We're both sisters, so that's why we're asking.
Yeah, sure, no problem. Yeah, you get the phone number and call, and if you qualify, then absolutely you should apply because it doesn't cost anything to apply. Oh, perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you, Chantel. There you go. There's a question. There's the question for general RDSP questions. But if you do need to open one up, we can certainly help you out with that.
Yes.
And yeah, for sure. Just to let you guys here, I'll just because you brought it up, I will show you this. If you guys have not seen this before,
I can't see. I'm no vision.
You can't see anything. No problem. Okay. So what I have on the screen is basically a sample. So one of my clients recently sent me, I don't know, I think it's in February or maybe March, but every year, anyone who qualifies for the disability tax credit gets a letter that looks like this, that basically says, oh, by the way, here's the maximum amount of money you can get for this year. You just have to put this much money here. So in this case here, this letter here says, oh, if you put $5,000 in there, you're going to get $10,500 into your account. So the government kind of reminds you, hey, you qualify for a disability tax credit. By the way, you know, put money into your RDSP and you can get some matching here. So the government kind of reminds you and encourages you to open these accounts up.
Yeah.
And that, just to highlight there, Robert, the first step before you can get your RDSP is making sure that you have been approved for your disability tax credit.
That's correct.
So that's the first step. And then once you've been approved, then you'll start getting those letters. I know myself, I got one of those letters in the mail recently as well.
And
so is there a way is there a way you guys can, do I have to email one of you guys to get that help to set one up, or I don't know how?
Are you speaking for the disability tax credit or the RDSP?
Both. I don't know. I don't know what I have.
Sure. I mean, the disability tax credit is, I'll just go over that process here, but I mean, Danica I can email the form to Danica and she can pass it on to you. The form I have, for sure. Okay. I have it in front of me here. I just downloaded it off the internet, but basically it's the page here. The first page looks like this, where basically it's a one-page form. It's very, very simple to fill out. It's just personal information, you know, first name, last name, SIN number, address, things like that. And then basically at the bottom, you say, this is me. So it's just one page, very, very simple. And then what happens is the next page is part B, which you get to your doctor. And your doctor is the one who fills it out. And basically, just to let you know, the very first section, it goes by disability type. And the first disability type is vision. And so a very simple thing that the doctor has to fill out, and basically, is your patient blind, yes or no? And they have a description of what is blind. And then if yes, when did your patient become blind? And then so they put the year, and then, you know, what is your patient's visual acuity after
What if you have two disabilities? Can that be put into that category?
I've never heard of that before. If someone having a double disability.
I'm pretty sure if there's multiple disabilities, like there's different sections in the form.
There are different sections.
And then there's a section at the end where your health professional will really describe in detail how your disability affects your life. So they can definitely put as much information there as they see suitable. But that definitely needs to be filled out by a medical professional.
Okay.
Absolutely, for sure. Yeah.
Thanks for answering your questions.
Oh, no problem.
And I'm going to look for those emails coming in.
For sure.
I have one more question. I was looking in the chat and I do not see the number.
It's Alice. I can send out the number by email to everyone that's registered in Zoom.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Anyone else have any questions about the RDSPs or?
I had a question actually, Robert.
Yeah, sure.
So you were mentioning how the growth and the matching is taxable. Is that only taxable upon withdrawal? Or are you getting that? Okay, it's not an annually tax.
It's not an annual thing. No, that's right.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, because this is because it's the R for RDSP means it's registered, right? So meaning that you don't get taxed until you take the money out. If it was a non-registered account, you would be taxed every year, right? But this is a registered plan. So because it's a registered plan, it's to you, it's your SIN number, and then you don't get taxed on it until you take the money out, right? So yeah, absolutely. So
perfect. Thanks for clarifying.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Anytime, no problem. I think Amy has a question.
Yeah,
Amy has her hand up anyway. Yes. Oh, hi, Amy. You have a question?
Yes, sorry, I'm talking away on mute here.
That's okay, no problem at all.
So my question is, if you're already receiving money from the government, like, so I get the people with disabilities benefit, can you still open an RDSP?
Are you talking about like the ODSP?
Or the RDSP, yeah.
Right. But you're saying you're receiving money from the government because of the disability?
You might be from a different province, eh, Amy?
Yeah, I'm in BC, so I don't know if that's different than.
I know, as far as I know, I mean, I'm in Ontario, so, but as far as I understand, an RDSP is a federal government thing. And so anyone can open up an RDSP, but I believe the rules still apply that anything that's income tested, you can still open up an RDSP. So for example, here, if someone's receiving ODSP, which is the Ontario, I don't know the full name of it, but someone who's disabled who's receiving money from the government, they're receiving ODSP here in Ontario. But that is an income tested kind of income. So depending on what your income is, they'll give you, they'll give you that. But you can put money into an RDSP and not affect that. So if yours works the same way as it does here in Ontario, it's not affected by that.
Okay, so if I get like $1,000 a month or whatever it is, then I can put 150 or whatever in it a month. Absolutely, you can. Yeah, it's not, and they specifically want to let people know because they understand the community that no government income tested plan is affected by this. So you could have $400,000 in an RDSP, and then you on an application you say, well, how much money do you have in your savings? Well, I've got $400,000 in my RDSP. Well, RDSP is exempt from any income tested type of thing. Or you start taking money out of the RDSP, still not affecting any income tested government plan. So, which is great because you could have 400,000 and you're 50 years old, or you wait till you're 60, then you start taking money out and you supplement your income with this kind of income, nothing gets affected, which is great. Okay, and RDSP is federal, right?
RDSP is federal, yes.
Okay, yeah, so that's how you can get away because you're getting provincial support for your disability, and then the RDSP is coming from the federal government.
Oh, it's provincial. Okay, this is what's messing me up. It's provincial and federal. Okay.
Sure, that's okay. Well, the ODSP, the O is Ontario, right? But then I'm assuming when you mentioned something that I've never heard of, but I guess it's a BC
people with
thing.
Disabilities. I didn't realize that was provincial.
That's okay.
I thought that was federal.
Yeah, that's okay.
I don't understand it. I'm still learning.
That's okay. Yeah. I'm assuming it works the same way. So yes, the Ontario government, the provincial governments will take care of people with disabilities, but the federal government is encouraging people to save. And so they're saying, hey, you know what, your Ontario plan is not going to be affected by opening up a federal, it's not a federal plan, but you know, it's a registered disability savings plan. It's available to all Canadians. So
it's basically a federal savings plan.
It is. Mm-hmm. That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Just as a little tidbit of knowledge, Jim Flaherty, the one who actually gave us the TFSA, he also gave us the RDSP before he passed away. So basically, in 2008, he invented the RDSP. In 2009, he invented the TFSA.
What a nice guy.
What a nice guy. There you go. Yeah, for sure. So hopefully that helps out a lot in terms of the RDSP. If no one has any questions, do we want to talk a little bit about RSPs versus TFSAs?
Yeah, we got time. Might as well cover it. It's important. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, for sure. All right. I have a brochure here, which I did give to Alice and Danica. So if you guys want a copy of it, by all means, you're more than welcome to have a copy of it. This is basically it's a book called How Money Works. It's a free, it's a free PDF that we obviously it's free, it's digital, but it's a PDF that we give out, and people are encouraged to take a look at it and read through it. But there is a part here that talks about, let me find the right page here. Where to go? Yeah, sorry. There's a page here that talks about RSPs versus TFSA. And, oh, there we go. Okay. So let's just talk about this for a little bit. So yes, you have RSPs that you're allowed to put money into. You have TFSAs that you're allowed to put money into. So let's take a look at just the differences. So I'm looking at a chart here where you have two columns, RSP and TFSA, and then there's categories.
Sorry, Robert, can you just explain the acronyms for people?
Oh yeah, for sure, absolutely. An RRSP is a registered retirement savings plan. And like the name suggests, it is meant for your retirement because, you know, your future self needs to, you know, is talking to your younger self and say, hey, save some money, put some money aside because your future self needs money to live off of. So registered retirement savings plan is for you to put money in. So when you retire, you can actually live a comfortable retirement. A tax-free savings account is, a TFSA is a tax-free savings account. It's what the name implies. There's no taxes when you put them. There's no taxes when you take the money out of a tax-free savings account. So we'll look at a couple points here. So the annual contribution limit for an RSP is $26,500 of earned income in the previous year minus pension adjustments up to an annual limit. So basically, it's basically 18% of whatever you made last year. That is your RSP contribution limit. And so as you're making money every single year, you're adding to that contribution limit. At TFSA, everybody gets, as long as you're over 18, you get that $6,000 per year limit, and every single year it goes, you're allowed to carry that forward to future years. In 2009, when the TFSA first started, it started at 5,000, but then they've been upping that with inflation over the years. And so some people now who've never put money into a tax-free savings account, they have $75,000 TFSA room. And so the limit was an issue back in 2009, but now it's not so much because everyone's got so much room. But having said that, if you're at that area there where you can maximize on your TFSA, then go ahead and do that. An important distinction between the RSP and a TFSA is the tax deductible contribution. When you put money into an RSP, you get a tax deduction off your income taxes. And so that's why we have RSP season, where March 1st is a deadline where people put money into their RSPs, because they get to reduce what they owe to the government, because they tell the government, hey, I put money into my RSPs. And so you get to deduct that off your taxes, off your income. There's also tax-free savings account are not tax deductible, okay? So you put money into a tax-free savings account, you're not gonna get an RSP contribution receipt, you're not gonna get a TFSA contribution receipt because that doesn't exist, and it doesn't reduce your taxes. In terms of contribution carry forward room, RSPs, yes. TFSAs, yes. Okay, so you get to carry forward any unused room, right? Taxable consequences in an RSP. When you take money out of an RSP, there is withholding taxes, right? That withholding taxes apply at the time of withdrawal and added to the income on a tax return. Okay, in a TFSA, there's no tax on the growth and there's no tax on withdrawals. That's important, right? You can put $10,000 into a TFSA, the money grows, all of a sudden it's $100,000 later on. You take the money out, there's no taxes on the growth and there's no tax on withdrawals. For an RSP, you put $10,000 in, it grows later on to $100,000. You start taking money out of the RSPs, that's going to be taxed by design. So it's not a surprise. It's not because you got a tax deduction off your income taxes when you put the money into the RSP in the first place. We can save that conversation to another time, but that's how that works. Maximum contribution age, or so maximum age for a contribution for an RSP, there is. You can't have an RSP beyond 71, so you can't put any money into an RSP after 71. For a tax-free savings account, there is no limit. As long as you're 18, you can have one, and you can have it all the way until whenever. And so that's the TFSA. And so for the RSP, just in terms of recontribution of withdrawals, when you take money out of an RSP, you don't get that contribution room back.
More audio controls button. Okay. Button.
And then for the tax-free savings account, yes, you do. You do get the contribution room back, but in subsequent calendar years. So if you put money in now and you take the money out in the same year, you don't get that contribution back, but then the following year you get the contribution room back. Okay. Does anybody have any questions about RSPs and TFSAs?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. RSP, when you say it's tax return,
yes.
Does that mean, let's say you put $5,000, do they give the refundable credit of $5,000 of your income tax, or it's another calculation? And is it fundable or non-refundable?
The RSP contribution gives you a refundable tax deduction. So basically, if you, but based on your marginal tax rate. So basically, if you were making, $35,000, $40,000 a year, and you're in a 35% tax bracket, okay. So if you're in a 35% tax bracket, and you put in, let's make for simple, if you put in $10,000 into your RSPs, and you're in a 35% tax bracket, that's gonna either reduce what you owe by $3,500, because marginal tax rate 35% multiplied by the contribution 10,000 is going to either reduce what you owe by $3,500 or give you a refund of $3,500. Now, okay, barring yes,
it's 35%, but that it depends on your income.
That's right. It depends on your income. That depends on your income.
Okay,
yes.
Okay.
Yes, it all depends on your income. That's why people who are making higher, 70,000, 80,000, 90,000, the RSPs are great for them, because as soon as they're in a 40% tax bracket, they put money in, they get 40% back of whatever they put in. So they want to put in 10,000, they get $4,000 back in taxes, or they reduce what they owe by 4,000, or if they're at zero, then they get a refund of $4,000, whatever the number is. Like if they owe 2,000 and they put 10,000 in, and they get it subtracts the $2,000 that they owe, it gets rid of that, then it gives them a refund of $2,000. Now, I'm not a tax accountant, I don't pretend to be, but that's, so for tax specific questions, talk to your accountant, but that's generally how it works. So okay, that RSP contribution is a good thing for sure. But having said that, if you're in a lower income, if you're, 15,000, like, I mean, the first 12,000 that anyone makes, there's a personal tax exemption that people have anyway. So the first 12,000 that anybody makes is a personal tax exemption. So you don't have to pay taxes on the first 12,000 anyway. So if you make like a little bit higher than that, but so generally speaking, $25,000, $30,000 a year, then the RSPs make sense. But lower than that, lower than $25,000 a year, TFSAs is the way to go. So it all depends on your situation. It all depends on your income.
Thank you.
You're welcome. No problem at all. But you know what? How about we do this? Before we open up, because I know I'm looking at the time. Before we open up the floor to other questions, let me just I want to show you a couple of animations, which I thought would be very helpful here. And if you guys want, I have about 5 or 6 animations like this on my website. So my website, if Danica, you can type this in the chat, it's primerica.com/Robert Wong. And so that's kind of my Yeah.
We can also we're going to send out an email with sort of the resources that you've shared, and I'll send the website along with
Perfect. Absolutely perfect. Yeah. So yeah, primerica.com/Robert Wong. You'll get that later on. This is a 1.5-minute video just talking about the importance of paying yourself first. And so let me just play that. It's 1.5 minutes and we can kind of talk about that. But I've got some other videos after this if we have time. So let me just play this and you can see it.
Pay yourself first. Think you don't make enough money to save some of it? Think again. If you earn $25,000 a year for 40 years, you will have earned $1 million. Earn $35,000 for 40 years, and you've earned $1.4 million. And if you earn $45,000 for 40 years, you'd have made $1.8 million. Pay yourself first, and you can get ahead in the savings game. Here's what can happen when you save just $100 a month for 40 years. At 3% interest, you would have about $93,000. At 5% interest, you'd have about $153,240. And if you got 9% interest, you'd have about $472,000. That's the power of paying yourself first. After all, it's not what you earn, it's what you keep.
Yeah. So basically, I was just talking about the importance of saving and the importance of starting early. Because like what the gentleman was saying, it's not what you earn, it's what you keep. A lot of people think that they have to make a lot of money to have a lot. They don't. They just have to learn how to keep it. And as you are young and you're starting to make money, you need to learn how to put some money aside. And you just have to realize the importance of it. The biggest tip that an older person gives a younger person is, oh my gosh, I save early, save young, save what you can, because later on you have options. And so when you don't, then you realize, oh my gosh, hey, I'm older and I didn't save when I was younger. That's not a good idea. And so it's a good thing to start saving money. Is that pretty good? You guys like that video? You guys like that animation there?
Yeah, it's pretty neat how it shows the different percentages and the big jumps in the amount you end up with.
Absolutely. It's a huge jump. So let me just play one more before my 5-year-old kind of steps in and says, hey, I need your attention. Okay, so let me see. Let me just play one more here. And the high cost of waiting. So this one here is the high cost of waiting. So why should you start saving now? Well, the longer you wait, it's going to cost you a lot of money to catch up. So this just sort of shows you that's about 1.5 minutes.
The high cost of waiting. Want to save $1 million by age 67? You better get started soon. The longer you wait, the more you'll have to put away each month to reach your retirement goals. 27 years old? You have to put away $214 a month to reach $1 million. Start at age 37, and you're putting away $546 a month to reach your goal. Begin at age 47, and you have to put away $1,497 a month. Wait until age 57, and you're putting away a hefty $5,168 a month. Wait until the last minute, age 62, and you'd have to stash $13,258 a month to reach $1 million by age 67. So, the sooner you start saving, the fewer dollars you'll have to put away each month to reach your retirement goals. Don't pay the high cost of waiting.
Isn't that crazy? So yes, it is possible in someone's lifetime to save up to $1 million in their account. You just have to start saving early and not wait. And so that was that one. There are other ones on the website talking about the power of compound interest, the importance of actually getting the right kind of investments and having the money grow, things like that. But all things we can talk about another time, but just wanted to give you a bit of an overview of that. Hopefully that helped you out a lot in terms of the RDSPs, RSPs versus TFSAs, and a little bit about the importance of savings. Danica, is there anything else?
I can take it over for you. I'm just being mindful of time. So we have just 2 minutes left. I want to personally thank you for taking the time and speaking with our group tonight. I think we had some really good questions. And we're going to forward you some information. And I think if you're okay, I can also share your contact information, Robert.
Yeah, of course. Absolutely. For sure.
Perfect. So personally, I use Robert I utilize his knowledge, and he's a great resource. So I think if you guys have any other questions, I'm sure we can pass those along. And like I said, just keep an eye out for an email with more information. And also, just a heads up, our next session is in 2 weeks from now, once again on a Thursday. We're just double checking to confirm our speaker. So we should be talking about sort of investing 101. So we're hoping to hear from them. If not, we might adjust our topic, but we'll definitely have a session for you guys. So we hope you can join us. And aside from that, thank you all for being here tonight. We know we had a lot of information thrown your way, but it's good information. And I think if we think of the key point, it's really start saving early, you know, and there's different ways to save, as we saw tonight, and it's never too early. And like you saw, you don't have to, sometimes it doesn't have to be a lot of money, right? You can start with 10, 20, 50, whatever you can contribute to savings. It'll grow, and you just gotta give it time to let it grow. So with that said, I think we'll bid you all a good night, and we'll see you guys in 2 weeks. Thanks for being there, everyone.
To learn more about the CNIB National Youth Council, visit cnib.ca/NYC.